Um, all right. Let me fix my hair a little bit because
Absolutely.
I'm sweating.
You look smashing to me.
Thank you, Kurt. Okay. So welcome to our podcast, Kurt. It is called Off the Field.
Excellent.
Yes, we are so excited to have you. And we'll just jump right in. Kurt, so you are the founding president of the Salinas Regional Sports Authority.
Let me correct that.
Yes, correct that.
So it was founded in 2008 by Warren Wayland.
Oh, okay.
Warren Wayland, he retired in 2019. That's when I stepped in as the president. Awesome. Then the original board, so these are names the community is familiar with, I'm sure.
Yeah.
The original board was Warren as the president. I think I was the treasurer originally. Catherine Kobrinski Evans was the secretary. Alfred Diaz-Infante was on the board. And some other leading citizens. It was a lot of legal stuff that we were going through to get the lease and to get the Monterey County to give us the lease on the whole property and then sublet it to Salinas under the condition that they would sublet it to us. So Brian Finnegan, a well-known land use attorney in the city of Salinas, Monterey County, he was on the board too. So Brian Finnegan, got to give him credit. And another fellow named Peter Kosovan was on that original board as well. So that was kind of the team to begin with.
Okay. So when you were part of the founding team,
that was,
right, Kurt?
That's correct, yeah.
So what was the inspiration behind having the soccer complex be managed by a nonprofit?
Oh, great question. Let me just first say that the group that got together recognized that our community did not have enough recreational facilities, period. That we were kind of under-recreated in our community. And that includes all sorts of different sports activities. So it was football, baseball, softball, basketball, so on and so forth. But soccer was the obvious, really big missing component with respect to having enough fields and so on and so forth. So we all recognized that. So that kind of started the motivation. The other thing that we were connecting at the time, so this was because the city of Salinas had just gotten a new administration, new mayor. The city manager was new, a guy named Ray Corbus. And the mayor had just been elected, was Dennis Donahue. As you know, he's going through another set of terms now, as first of might be another couple of terms. But anyhow, we also saw the economic impacts of recreational activities. And so we had witnessed what the rodeo grounds had done in terms of attracting a lot of people from outside our area.
Yes.
And then there was the softball complex that had gotten built, and the softball tournaments were attracting a lot of economic activity because people were coming in for tournaments, spending the night, spending money in restaurants and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
So we saw, soccer is one of those sports that we could attract people from outside the area as well if we could put in a really nice facility. And so another thing, this is kind of sad, but I'm going to say it, and maybe I'm going to get hate mail for this. But the city of Salinas particularly had not done a very good job of maintaining park facilities generally, but in particular, this soccer complex that we're sitting at today, which at that time was called the Constitution Soccer Complex, now of course is the Salinas Regional Soccer Complex. The fields out here were not even fit for a horse pasture. I mean, they were in such bad shape. So you've probably heard that as a common theme.
Yeah.
So we said, you know what we could do, and this is what the negotiation with the Monterey County, the landowner here, and the city of Salinas, the leaseor, and then us, the subletters. We said, as a public-private nonprofit, so we, of course, being the private nonprofit, if we worked with the public sector, we could probably do a better job of managing the fields, and we could do a better job of developing the fields, in part because we had a passion for that.
Yeah.
We wanted really nice fields, and sometimes I choke up when I say this, but to me, really nice facilities are something that you do to show respect for your community. And I felt like the way that this place was run, the soccer complex was run, the city wasn't showing the kind of respect it needed to. And then the other thing that was happening, I was a soccer coach at the same time, and I had travel teams. And we couldn't get travel teams to come here because the conditions were so bad. And so it was like, so my kids that were on the teams that I was coaching, I had a number of teams, my kids were saying like, they don't want to come here. So to me, it was like a sense of pride,
Yeah.
you know? So, that's kind of what the alignment of the stars was for us. It was like, well, we think we can do a better job. We think we could do it more economically than the city could do it or the county could do it. And we want to do it because we want really excellent facilities in our community, and we want to show respect to our community, the kids of our community, the adults of our community. So all those things came together and made for a pretty powerful board of directors and ultimately coalitions and what have you. So that's kind of the beginning for me.
Yeah, and that's amazing, Kurt. And I think even just talking about the transformation, right? Because you've seen the transformation.
Absolutely.
And you've put in so much work, to get to from where we started to where we are now. So I always say like the nonprofit really that manages, like SRSA that manages the soccer complex. I think it's really powerful because it is like for the locals by locals.
That's right.
Right. And so I think my question to you is, with that being said, like, how do you feel, Kurt, now that you are seeing the transformation, and even when people come to the soccer complex and they talk about the quality of the grass, like you always hear people who were raised, or even people like Jonathan, right, who remember that saying, I didn't have fields like this, and now you're providing that for the community. So like being able to really see that, how does that make you feel?
Well, I feel like I feel great. Of course, I feel like we've got momentum, and from my perspective, I really enjoy development, building, and moving forward. So I don't look behind so much as I look forward, But I have to say today, so I'm going to do a plug for Subway sandwiches. I went to Subway for lunch, which I don't always do, but it was actually delightful today. And the gal behind the counter that was serving me, she saw my little logo.
Okay.
Ta-da! And she said, "What do you do at the soccer complex?" And I said, "Well, actually, I'm on the board president. I played there when I was a girl, and I had so much fun. But those fields used to be so terrible, and I go by there now." And she said, "They're amazing, and you guys have done so much." So I'm very proud of that. But then I turned it on her and I said, "So when was the last time you played soccer?" "Well, it's been a while." "Go to the office and sign up because they have a wonderful women's adult league." And she looked pretty fit, so I'm thinking, hey, you could probably have a starting position somewhere. So you got to sell. Yeah, no, I'm very, very proud. It's I keep it in my mind. I love to backpack. I was a backpacker all my life, and when you're backpacking in the Sierra Nevada mountain range, particularly, some of the hills or mountains are grueling. I mean, the sun's out, you're kind of overheating, and it's like, God, this mountain, is there no end to this climb, So every now and then you slow down and you turn around and you look and you go, oh my God, look at the view. So, slow down every now and then and take a look at your accomplishments, but turn and continue to climb the mountain. So that's where I'm at.
Okay, yes. But I will encourage you, Kurt, to look back, because I do think that the progress that has been made, it also inspires how we're moving forward and where we're moving forward,
It does.
Because we get to see that growth. I think that's when at least for me, that's when I'm talking to people and they talk about it, that's I think the part that I'm like, even when I started like a year ago, we're in such a different place, and there's so much going on and we're expanding and we're talking about all these things that we're trying to bring to the community. And so they're starting to actually, evolve little by little and happen. So yes, definitely take the time, Kurt.
Thank you.
To really reflect on that and just, appreciate it. But so Kurt, you already talked a little bit about this, but I want to know a little bit more. So if you feel like you want to add more, we can, and if not, we can skip to the next question. But you did mention that your children played here at the soccer complex. You also talked about how you actually would come and mow the lawn.
I did
yourself prior to games.
I did.
Can you just talk to me a little bit about that motivation starter? Like, what was really that thing that made you?
Well, it starts with I love the sport, and I played competitive soccer kind of interesting, at the time, and you have to go back to the late 1960s, early 1970s. Soccer was not a thing in America. It was not a thing in California. However, where I lived in Walnut Creek, we had some foreigners. I just kind of lucked out where I lived. So there's a fella from Hungary, actually had fought in World War II, named Joseph Babel, and then there was another one named Jim Coleman from England. Okay. And they just got some neighborhood kids together, and in our case, boys, and they formed a team or teams, and my little brother and we joined the soccer. And so we didn't go the traditional sports route. We didn't go basketball, baseball, football. We played soccer, and then soccer was a year-round sport. If you're European, you don't think about soccer seasons.
Yeah.
You think about it's the whole year, So that's what we did. That we had European coaches, and very different coaching style, by the way, because American coaches at the time, back in the 70s especially, it was all about rough and, you kind of yell at you and, get it right. The European coaches put their arm around you, and they kind of encouraged and a lot of positive reinforcement. A very different approach to coaching back in those days. And so my little brother and I just said, hey, man, we kind of like being loved. We're going to do this sport instead. So I loved playing it at a competitive level. And then I started coaching when my kids were young. Yeah. And so I had the experience of playing on fields as a youth that were in pretty good shape. Okay. And then when I was starting to coach here locally, the fields were not in very good shape. And so it affected your competitive ability. In other words, if a field is in bad shape, no matter how good you are, the field disrupts your play. And so you couldn't demonstrate your skills well in that environment. And so that was something I kind of took in my own hands. I said, you know what, here at Constitution, and I tell you, I did that many times. Well, first of all, it's a kind of a funny story, but I got my hands, so there's a bunch of potholes in one of the fields. In the old days, we used to call it Field 11. There was a bunch of potholes, so I went and bought sod. And I bought I think it was a 300-gallon tank to fill with water, and a hose that connected to it. I planted sod in that one field, and I irrigated it. It came out several times a week, and actually had a guy helping me. And we got the sod to stick, and then I would come out before games and I would mow. And the reason I had to do that is because I literally could not get teams to visit us if I did not have a playable field. It couldn't, we were trying to play against the best teams in Northern California. Yeah. So we had to create conditions that were going to be good enough for them as well. And we were successful with that. That happened. Although I got to tell you, one time when I was out here mowing before a game, the police department arrived. And they said to me, you can't be out here mowing. What do you mean I can't be out here mowing?
Is that on your record?
It might be, but so he left and I finished the field, but then I never mowed again. I had to move, basically to a different field. But I just, the quality of play is related to the quality of the facilities. Yeah.
And I think that makes me think of two things, Kurt. I think one, you're a perfect example of that. The benefits that come from soccer outside of just the sport or even playing it. Like some people want to play it professionally, but even if they don't play it professionally, like you just are able to build and get so much from the sport. And I think that, the parallel there is that we are also providing that as well for the youth here in Salinas, right? Yeah. To be able to build long-lasting friendships, community, which is really critical and important for mental health and wellness and just, the ability to build connection, I think. And I think people get that here, And I think the other thing is, Kurt, I think that story about that cops had to come and stop Kurt Gollnick from mowing the lawn.
That's right.
That is so funny. And you're going to love this next question, Kurt. But where do you envision the Salinas Regional Soccer Complex in the next 5 or 10 years?
Well, I'm going to go further out than that. So what I see here as a physical location, I see a world-class soccer complex that offers families a much deeper experience than that. So I really do want to see this become the epicenter of high-quality soccer in the Central Coast. And when I say Central Coast, I'm talking between, southern Bay Area and northern Los Angeles Basin area. And we have the facility to do it. We'll have the facility to do that, to be that important, because the build out is 68 acres for listeners, and it's roughly 35 acres of grass fields. So that ends up being something like 18 grass fields and 2 synthetic fields that are lighted. So we'll have the facility here to do that, but we're going to opt for, because we want families to enjoy the location. We're going to have walking areas. We're going to have multiple other sports available: basketball. We have volleyball, sand volleyball, sand soccer, which is a unique sport too. We're going to have a BMX pump track. We're going to have a skate park. But we'll have lots of facilities for little kids and for picnicking for moms and dads and families and grandmas and grandpas. So we're going to have a really well-rounded location with emphasis on competitive soccer and and recreation soccer too. But the longer-term vision for me is to really change the narrative of Salinas, and what I think we can accomplish, in part because culturally this community really values soccer.
Yes.
It's important. Everybody in our community, literally everybody in our community, follows soccer worldwide, right? Yeah. Obviously there's an emphasis in South America and more of an emphasis in Mexico when it comes to teams. But you can't talk to a young person in this community without them knowing something about the Premier League in England or Serie A in Italy or whatever. I mean, it's amazing the soccer knowledge and the number of players that we have here. And there's no reason we can't channel that interest into extending education for our young people and for bringing into the area, attracting into the area, top-level coaching, top-level game management, better refereeing and things of that nature, so that players from this region are more successful in college if they want to continue into college, that players from this region are being looked at for potentially playing on the national team and being looked at to play at some level perhaps on the professional team. So my dream, I hope I live long enough to see this happen, is when I'm watching soccer on TV, that I'm hearing names from Salinas being mentioned over and over again, whether it's the collegiate level, the national team level, or professional level. I just want to hear, and this young man and this young woman, well, they're from Salinas too, And so what does that do? Suddenly, well, Salinas is the middle of the soccer universe, right?
Yeah.
And one other thing that listeners have to understand, Salinas should be the center of the soccer universe because it's absolutely the perfect place to play the sport. And the reason is it's never too cold in the winter and it's never too hot in the summer here. We have a climate that is just perfect for year-round sports and not snow skiing. It's terrible for snow skiing. Okay, so that sport's out, and ice skating too. But it's perfect for sports that you're playing on grass, and you're playing outdoors. And certainly we should be attracting tournaments in the hot days of the summer and in the cold days of the winter where you're not, able really to play necessarily in the San Joaquin Valley, whereas you can be playing here with comfort, Yes. So anyhow, we have a really great piece of real estate, and I think that we should be taking advantage of that to the best of our abilities.
Yes, and I'm excited. Kurt, it's going to happen. I'm manifesting that for you. You are going to see that. So the next question, what are some little known facts about the Salinas Regional Soccer Complex that the public might not be aware of?
Oh, let's see. They might not be aware of. Well, one thing is that, you talked about the physical plant that we've had some success. Well, we have really reached out to a lot of really great local philanthropy. So we've been blessed with support from all of the major foundations and some of the more significant businesses in our community. Yeah. And we have raised, if I remember correctly, to date, somewhere in the neighborhood of about $18.6 million. And so with that money, what we've been able to do is rehabilitate basically 20 acres of grass that has 11 soccer fields on it. And we've been able to build 2 synthetic turf fields and put lights on so we can play at night around here. And then we have undergone, and the public should know this, we've undergone a major project to take land that was never going to have anything on it because it had what looks like a naturally occurring concentration of arsenic from runoff from the Gavilan Mountains, more than likely over 1,000 years or whatever. And we've cleaned that arsenic up, and we've made it'll be 8 fields available for the public to play on that would have never amounted to anything. And so we've rescued that land from waste, basically, and made it available for everybody to use. And then there's another opportunity in our horizons for this location. And that is, we have a beautiful little creek that runs through the property, and it's an important little creek. It feeds Carr Lake and then runs off into Moss Landing and into the ocean. And it's called Gavilan Creek, and that is a really pretty riparian habitat that I think is going to be a great project for us to do a restoration so that our community can come here and not just enjoy the outdoors, but enjoy an outdoors that is a riparian environment, which have all the birds and salamanders and fish, etc., all of the critters and all of the flora that you would expect growing in this region. And I think it's just going to be an enjoyable outdoor experience for folks. So come here, get your exercise, but also just enjoy the ambiance and nature that the location offers.
And then Kurt, you touched on this one as well, but I'm going to pose it, I'm going to ask the question anyways in case there's anything you'd like to add. I think the soccer complex, like, what are the benefits that you see the Salinas Regional Soccer Complex have for our local community outside of the sport?
Well, one thing that if you come here on our busier days, so classically Sundays from March all the way through November, what really makes you feel great is seeing families here, and so that's really an area of focus for us in the development. Is we want to see little brothers and little sisters. We want to see big brothers and big sisters, cousins, but we're seeing all of the kids, mom and dad, grandma and grandpa out here. And so it's a family, it's attractive to families. And what we're doing to make sure it stays attractive to families is we're really conscious about security. The way we've done the development, it's a secure, safe place. You can let your kids kind of run wild. That's the way I was raised anyway. My neighbors used to always tell, we had 8 kids in my family. So it's like, the Gollnicks, they're like a tribe of wild Indians. Yeah, we were. And here, you should be able to let the kids run free and not feel too concerned about it, know. So that to me is one of the miracles of this development is a family safe place.
Yeah, and I think you're right, Kurt. We get to, it's really beautiful to witness when you come down and you see it, and then I just think also you get to see the generations, right? Like, exactly. I was talking to a father who was talking about, I think it was during the clinics that we were having. ECSC was hosting clinics here, and he talked about, like, I remember, like, I grew up in these fields, and now my kids are playing in these fields, and I'm so grateful and I'm so happy that when we come out here, like, it looks so different. They get such a beautiful and different experience than what I got from these fields. And so I think it's nice to see that be passed down generation after generation.
We were very deliberate about a cultural change at this location. The utilization of these fields before we took over was catchers catch can. I used to call it the Wild West. I mean, it was literally territorial, and it wasn't welcoming, and it wasn't friendly. It was, everybody was battling over limited real estate, and we've completely changed that. You have to sign in order to play here. Your team and your league, in order to play here, you have to sign a document that are our guiding principles. And our guiding principles spell out what our priorities are for the development. So on the top of those guiding principles is that we shall support women's sporting activities. We want girls and women to have a safe haven for pursuing sports into adulthood. And so we made that a priority of ours, for example. And then we also created the code of conduct. So you can't play here unless you have signed the code of conduct. So we have expectations for your behavior. Once we got those in place and once we enforced them, the mood around here changed. It became welcoming instead of a competitive environment. And so that's what it is. It's a cultural shift. So there's beautification, there's improvements in quality, but there's also a big cultural shift.
Yeah, and I think something that people might not know is that we are continuing, we leave those, we're continuing to have communication with the leagues that are part of the soccer complex to make sure that as we are, expanding or, for example, having the turf fields, that we're still also, getting their perspective and getting their feedback. And so I think that's really important because I don't think sometimes people might not know that, right? But I think it's really beautiful to witness and see and come and watch the soccer complex, work, the soccer leagues work together. And so I think that's amazing because I think ultimately we are all working, we all want the same thing. We want the space to be beneficial to our youth and the opportunities that will come economically and just opportunities in general for youth to then actually be able to play professionally like you were talking about.
Well, the leagues were competing against each other for real estate and for players and so on and so forth. Once the agreements were in place and management of this resource was in place, then it changed from competition to cooperation, and that's where we are today. And so that's what you're seeing, continuous cooperation between the leagues and the players.
And it's awesome to see. Okay, Kurt, as someone who's passionate about soccer and who has made a significant impact in Salinas Valley through the work at the Salinas Regional Soccer Complex, what advice would you give young people in this community striving to create positive change?
Well, I think the thing that I think is most important is put yourself in a team environment or a cooperative environment. So if you're not in a position to lead change, join a group that is making change. And what'll happen is you're a part of something. You're a teammate or you're whatever you want to call yourself, but join in. And there's a lot of places to do that, whether it's your school, your high school, Rotary, whatever. Lots of opportunities for you to become a part of positive change within the context of a group. And then within the context of a group, there becomes over time opportunities for you to be in leadership roles too. And then after many years, suddenly you'll find that you have a lot of people that you have a shared vision with, and you may find yourself now branching off, leading let's call it a splinter group, but an important group that's having good community results and impacts. So it's just a matter of me joining a team. That's how I approached everything. So,
thank you for sharing that. Okay, Kurt, are there any final thoughts or anything you'd like to share that I didn't ask about?
Yeah, well, this project that we have is it's come a long way, but it has a long way to go.
Yes.
And so every little bit that people can do from an economic perspective is a big help. And even, someone says, well, what's $5 going to do? Let me tell you what $5 does. It does a hell of a lot. First of all, oftentimes there's matching funds. And secondly, what it is, it's an investment in your community. And so there's a sense of ownership and a sense of pride. And a big part of what we're doing here is for people to own it. This is ours. It's not the city of Salinas's. It's not Monterey County's. It's all of ours. And even if we don't give much financially, just a little bit, you're investing in it. And I think that's a really important concept. And then there's going to be volunteer opportunities here too. So for example, I was talking to our landscape manager today, and I'm working on a deal to get trees donated. And then he turns to me wisely and he says, who's going to dig the holes? And I say, well, Frank, his name's Frank. Frank, damn it, we'll find some volunteers to dig the holes. He basically is telling me, I'm not digging the holes. That's fine.
And you know what, Kurt, it's even that, like, it's so awesome to see, because we do have a lot of like young volunteers from the schools that come and support and help the soccer complex. So yeah, and I think like you were saying, I think $5 goes such a long way, and it's like the best return on investment.
Totally.
$5-10 that you're giving for what you're getting back.
Exactly.
It's just like truly, and we know we've seen this happen in other cities, and how it, having recreational spaces has literally transformed the community to be like you were saying earlier, building healthier communities, right?
Yep.
And
Exactly.
like, yeah, and the work, I think sometimes that people don't understand that the work also isn't just for the people that are here, but there's always a little bit that you could contribute and do to support. Yeah.
Well, let me mention too that because speaking of ROI, return on investment, or ROP, return on people, we're getting 7,000 visitors a week with just the original development.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, with the addition of the 2 synthetic fields, when we are in the spring and everything is open, the grass fields and the synthetic fields are all going, I'm projecting that we're going to have approximately 10,000 unique visitors each week. And then when we build out the rest of this place, we'll probably be seeing numbers such as 15 to 20,000 visitors per week. Let's think about that for just a second. Everybody here wants to go grocery shopping or buy a sandwich, and visitors are going to want to spend a night at a hotel. So there's economic development occurring for our community. Well, that's all well and good. But in terms of return on people, you show me any park in Monterey County that's getting that many visitors and is operating for as efficiently and cost effectively as we are. In other words, if you think about how many people utilize this facility and what the cost per head is, this is the best deal in Monterey County, bar none. So this is a great place for investment. It's a great place for Monterey County to invest. It's a great place for the city of Salinas to invest. And it's a great place for all of us individuals and philanthropy to invest. So.
Yes. Okay, Kurt, this is going to be rapid fire questions.
Fire away.
Yeah, so then you get, 1 to 4 word answers. So, okay, ready? Which soccer team do you root for?
Okay, not fair because I like a lot of them. But right now I love Manchester City, and the reason is because of Holland. I mean, the guy's the best player in the world right now, and I just love watching him.
What's your favorite song, artist, or album?
Okay, well, Van Morrison. So right now, if you typed in social profile of people that listen to Van Morrison, a picture of me would pop up. I mean, that is so old school, right? You know that I was born in the 50s.
Kurt, you're going to put some of these youngsters on good music, because then they'll listen to this and be like, who is that? They'll look them up.
Please do. Yes. Van Morrison's awesome. Brown-Eyed Woman. I mean, everybody's got to listen to that
song. Do you have a favorite movie or TV show?
Let's see. I can't believe this happened. And don't laugh at me, but I came home the other night and I had a grandson visiting, and granddaughter, B. And they were watching Mary Poppins, and I just melted away. And why I'm saying that is because Julie Andrews and who's the male actor? God, it's just slipped from my mind. He's still alive, and he's 99 years old, and he lives in Malibu. But anyway, it's just so wonderfully done. Wild Wild West is fantastic. I mean, so now you know my ear again.
What's your favorite hike or outdoor adventure you've been on?
I have hiked a lot in the Sierra Nevada mountain range. And okay, if I had to pick one hike out, I would have to say, starting at Mammoth, it's the Ansel Adams Wilderness. Okay. And it's a trip that will blow your mind. It's the most scenic place in the world, in my opinion.
I'm gonna do it, Kurt. I'm gonna actually put that on my bucket list for 2025.
Yeah.
What's one thing you do to support your well-being?
I live on our farm, and I grow wine grapes, orchards, and stuff like that. But I have 9 dogs
Okay.
and sheep. Yes, and my well-being is going out with the dogs every morning. So I make the trip, I make the rounds with the dogs, and it's really, really incredible. I live in a very scenic location up by the Pinnacles National Park. Okay. So anyway, it's beautiful.
Awesome. All right, Kurt, that concludes our podcast for today. Thank you for being here.
My pleasure. Thank you for doing it. All righty. We good?
Are we good?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay, perfect.
All right.
Thank you, Kurt. It was amazing. I learned so much new stuff about you, Kurt, that I didn't. First of all, I didn't know you had 9 dogs.